Pastor Michael, we've been in a season on all things related to the spiritual realm. So we have another question today. And today's question is, why should Christians never get involved with dark magic?
Well, I appreciate the assumption, which is true. They should never get involved in dark magic. But let's open up the word and just let it direct our behavior and our thoughts. So Deuteronomy chapter 18. We'll start in verse 9, but what this essentially does is it lays a framework, not just for Israel, but for all people of all time as it pertains to dark magic, occult practices. It won't just tell us what they are and what to do and what not to do. It will identify in detail what are some of those common dark practices. So in verse 9, he says this: when you come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you, pause, we have Israel in the wilderness getting ready to go into the promised land. And they've never been there before. I mean, we've had some spies. They've looked at it. There's like giants in the land, and there's evil people in the land. And if you're kind of new to village church teaching, the promised land was filled with the most evil people in all of human history, period. There's a reason why God said, wipe them all out. Everybody, kids, everybody, nothing. There can be no residue, no remnant of these people groups whatsoever. They are so vile, so evil, so dark, so even in their bloodlines is demonic bloodlines that like they need to be eradicated. So like understand that the people of Israel have never been in a land like this, and it is going to be filled with practices that they've never seen before. And it's not going to be like fairy tales. It's not going to be like a sleight of hand. There's going to be actual power and dark forces doing real dark things that they've never seen before. So this is going to be very shocking for them. And they're also going to probably want to participate in it. So God knows that. So in advance, he's like, listen, you're going into a dark land. And then in verse 10, he kind of lists out, here are the abominations, the abominable practices that are there. He says, there shall not be found among you anyone. And this is interesting because he doesn't say any of these practices. He says anyone. What's striking, here's the warning. If you do these, it's one strike and you're out. There are no second chances. These are so dark. They're so dangerous that you dabble once, talking about Israel under the old covenant here now, you're cut off. So there shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering. Okay. I mean, it sounds disgusting, but now apply that to the modern day abortion movement. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean the same kind of vile, evil things aren't happening. But they would take their firstborn son or daughter, put it onto this very, very golden hot metal altar with a demon god, Chemosh or Moloch, whose hands are out like this, and they would put their living children onto this thing, and they would burn alive, and the mothers would hear their screams, and then they would think, well, this is how we're going to have fertile land and get more kids, and so I give my firstborn back to these gods, which is clearly like a demonic practice, ripping off kind of God's love by giving his only son.
But shocking abomination.
Shocking, so they're going to see this, and he's warning them what they're going to see. Anyone who practices divination, this is any kind of either talking with the dead or talking with the spirit realm, any kind of spirit realm access is just, it's rejected. Anyone who tells fortunes or interprets omens. Hey, this thing happened to me. Can you go to a sorcerer or a priest and you say, what do these events mean? We don't interpret omens. God doesn't speak through omens. It's not what he does. Sorcerers or charmers or a medium. You don't go talk to dead people, right? When a person is saying, I'm talking to the dead, all they're doing is a demon is speaking to you through that person. Or a necromancer. So we're not going directly to the dead or none of that. Or one who inquires of the dead. It's interesting. These are different, it's like all different kinds of ways of saying, I'm not going to leave anything open to an option. You might call it this, you might call it that. They might try to access the spirit realm or the dead in this way or that way. It doesn't matter what they do. Anybody who's dabbling in the spirit realm outside of God's appointed ways, dead. Cut them off. It's not just what they do is an abomination. They become an abomination. And so that's what's kind of hard. So here's what we got. Child sacrifice, sacrificing children to death for power, provision, benefit. We have divination. This is seeking secret knowledge from dark spirits. Fortune telling, using the spirits to predict or to control the future. Interpreting omens, telling the future by signs or interpreting signs to make sense of the future. Sorcery. This includes magical effects, especially by drugs. That's what's interesting. Most people don't understand how historic psychedelics were and how common and frequent they were in demonic religions and practices. We have charming, which is controlling people or animals by spells. We have a medium, communicating with spirits or letting them use your body to communicate. That's a thing. Necromancy, communicating with the dead through visions, apparitions, raising them bodily. Verse 12, here's what it says. Whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord, your God, is driving them out before you. So why is God taking all these Canaanite evil people away? Because they are burning their children alive. They are knee deep into every kind of dark magic and sorcery that you can imagine. They've crossed every line that you can cross. If you think back to the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, what children were doing to visitors who came into the country. So you got to just imagine, with dark magic always comes dark sexuality. Okay. So the two are never separate from each other. One perversion leads to a complete perversion of the whole person. So there are some sins that aren't just evil, but they make you evil. And here's what God's trying to tell them. Dark magic, it's not just something you get a little bit of power and you go home and sleep at night. When you participate in these things, they are so demonic, they are so dark, they are so disgusting, they are so ugly that the moment you engage them, they destroy you from the inside out. And I think one of the best illustrations for this, and I think some people understand this, is unfortunately some people have had sexual experiences at a very young age. And they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were dabbling with, but what happened is that at 7 years old or 5 years old or 9 years old or 11 years old, these experiences fundamentally change them on the inside. And there are some human experiences that it doesn't matter how awesome you think you are. When you are in the midst of them, they change you. Or another illustration would be somebody goes to war. You think about like World War II or Vietnam veterans. It is an actual thing. The moment you see a body explode in front of you, you can't unsee it. And it sticks with you for the rest of your life. It haunts your dreams. There are some experiences the human mind and the human soul are not created to carry. And what God's trying to communicate to them is it doesn't matter how lucrative the power is, or like, well, we're going to starve to death if I don't give my firstborn son. It would be better to starve to death than it would be to destroy your soul.
Yeah, give yourself over to that.
Right. And so there's some sort of attachment that they are able to have, the demonic realm is able to have to you the moment you dabble in this stuff. Dark magic is an inherent invitation into demons to be in your life, in your mind, in your soul. So the idea that we get to dabble, right, and not be destroyed, it's not true. It's not real. So so here's can we step back? We just say as believers in Jesus, okay, we just don't ever dabble, ever. We don't play any of these games because they are inherently corrupting. And so
I was going to ask what does someone do if they have dabbled or indulged in these practices? So Acts 19 is a great story that tells Christians what we should do if we have dabbled, participated, etc. So let's read it. Acts 19, verse 18. It says, also many of those who were now believers, they came. And here's what they did. Confessing, they're owning it, repenting over this, and divulging their practices. So they didn't try to hide what they did. Here's what I did. Here are the dark practices. Here's the dark magic I participated in. Verse 19, it says, a number of those who had practiced magic arts brought their books together and burned them in the sight of all. This is what's so striking. For them, it wasn't like, let's just give these away. We don't want to waste a good resource, It was, no, we don't want any of this to exist anywhere. Destroy any trace of it.
Yeah, there is some knowledge that we're not meant to have. And so like, I'll give you kind of an illustration. I was 7 years old the first time I ever saw pornography. And you know where I saw it? It was at baseball practice, and it was in a big metal bin. And somebody thought, I got to get rid of this. It was probably some Christian repenting of his sins. So he threw them away in a bin at a baseball park. Bad move. Burn them, right? Because now here's 7-year-old Michael who's like, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Right. And like I shared earlier, there are some experiences that get seared into your brain. I mean, that entire experience as a 7-year-old is seared into my brain because Michael wasn't prepared for that. Michael wasn't built for that at 7 years old.
Yep.
And so this idea that if you have dark things in your life, we don't just like throw them out. No, there's actually power in burning them so that they could never fall into the hands of anyone else. So verse 19, a number of those who had practiced magic arts brought their books together, burned them in sight of all, and they counted the value of them and found it came to 50,000 pieces of silver. Dude, just consider that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a fortune. And you can imagine, like, it is striking to me because it says a bunch of believers, they came confessing, but then it says a number of those, not all of them. Some of them were like, that's too much money. That's too much money.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why Luke adds here is like, this is what it cost. But there were those who said, no, we're going to burn these despite the cost. We made the choice to invest our money foolishly. We now see what it is for what it is. And now we're going to destroy these things so they never fall into anyone else's hands. And then verse 20 says, so the word of the Lord continued to increase and to prevail mightily. So if you have dabbled, repent through burning and destroying them, build a big bonfire, and listen. If somebody says, but it's plastic, burn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There will be demonic influence in so many ridiculous ways to convince you to do anything other than completely obliterate and destroy it. And so just be done with it. If you are exposed, this is now the moment where we flee. If it's Satan, we stand firm. But if it's dark magic, I run away. Like, I don't want to be near it. I don't want to be in it. So like if you're at a friend's sleepover and they're doing Ouija boards or séances, you get up, you walk away, you call your mom and dad, and you have them come get you. You know, if you don't have an easy way out, like you leave, period. You don't even stick around. And then if you've never done it, you make right now a resolution in your heart. I'm never going to touch this. I'm never going near it. It doesn't matter what is offered to me. It doesn't matter how much money I could make. It doesn't matter if I just give this part of my life over to a demon, he'll offer me X, Y, and Z. Nothing. You're done with it. We never negotiate with darkness. We don't ever give any part of our life, our mind, our heart, our soul, our body, or our home to dark magic or demonic influence. Period. It's just a resolve we have in our heart. This stuff isn't welcome in my home.
Yep. I appreciate your just directness with talking about it, and also just resolving and making these decisions as a follower of Jesus, whatever you've experienced in the past or whatever you've been through, to make that decision to not dabble. And if you have, there's repentance and there's grace for everything, but there are certain sins that we have to be extra cautious with and that God calls an abomination. And so I appreciate your directness and also just these things of what you can do if you've been exposed to it or whatever it is. So I think that's really good insight and training for our people that are listening. So thank you for that.